Good evening. My name is Sandra Craig, and I represent the Etiquette Foundation of Illinois. You are watching a live interactive call-in television program brought to you on CAN TV 21. Let's talk etiquette. During the next 25 minutes, my very special co-host will be none other than that dynamic Mr. Nathan Wright. We invite you to call in with your questions and your comments at our phone number, which is 312-738-1060. Again, 312-738-1060. Our phone lines are now open. Welcome again,
Wow.
Mr. Wright.
Once again, we're together, and I'm so excited about being your co-host on Let's Talk Etiquette.
Glad you're here with me.
Yes,
Couldn't do it without you.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Wright. We have a new topic tonight we're going to talk about. I know last week and the week before we talked about the violence and how, and the different things that are going on in the city. But the Etiquette Foundation has put a plan together to work on the city's ills. Will you please tell us a little bit about that plan, Mr. Wright?
Yes, I am very, very pleased to talk about our Education Summit. We're calling it the 2014 Chicagoland Education Summit. You know, Sandra, we have reached out and made phone calls and wrote letters and tried everything we could to get the powers that be to at least consider what we have suggested over the years far as our school system is concerned, as far as having some impact on the violence that's going on in our city and all around this country. It is such a tragic events that go on all over this country. But here in Chicago, we're really acutely aware of that. And so what we decided to do at our last meeting, as you well remember, is to put together a summit, an education summit, and where we would call the community in. And maybe if we got the community to support what we're doing, maybe then we could come together and then ask the powers that be to give what we are recommending really some serious consideration, because education is our way out. Education is the solution to this violence problem that we're having in the city of Chicago. And so this is essentially what we are calling on the community to join us in this crusade to save lives by educating our young people to be more civil, to be more humane, to be more all the other wonderful things that come out of a good quality etiquette education.
I agree. Now, Mr. Wright, last week we did talk about the violence in some communities seems to be more in others. And you said that came, you believe, because there was education, more education, better education in some areas, in some communities than others, and that's why the violence was so high in some communities, because they didn't have that opportunity.
Well, as you well know, Sandra, the quality of education is superior when you're talking about at Chicago Preparatory College, or you're talking about Walter Payton Preparatory College. The education quality is so superior to this education our children are receiving in the inner city, especially those disadvantaged communities, especially those communities that is having poverty as the main force that works in their lives, and unemployment and all the other ills that comes from being unemployed, that comes from being undereducated. And those schools are really doing an awful job, a terrible job at educating our young people. And so we wanted to focus on those schools as opposed to focusing on those schools that we know are far superior than the schools in our community.
I agree. I agree. Now, Mr. Wright, are you calling for community leaders to get involved in this?
Absolutely. We think if we can put together a group of community leaders, and I'm talking about your churches, and I'm talking about your different organizations in the community, I'm talking about your political leaders, us coming together as a community to figure out what we can do to change this problem we're having, especially when it involves our public schools. We can do such a tremendous job there in changing the dynamics of what is going on in the community through that process. And unfortunately, it is just not happening.
I agree, Mr. Wright. We do need help. I believe we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Part of the problem is, and we're looking at square dead in our face in terms of these public schools, and I've been saying this, we need to do away with these so-called all these black schools. The reason why I say that is because when you got black children in certain schools, you give them the opportunity to be racist. And when you have the white child, the Hispanic child, the Asian child, all sitting in the same classroom, able to get the same type of quality education, and children know they are being in a situation where they could be competitive, and they're getting a quality education, it would change the whole focus. When you look over the years, they integrated the teachers, but they did not integrate the students. And like I said, I don't care if you go to a public school or private school. When you go to like an all-black school, even the archdiocese in certain places is very racist.
Well,
you give them the opportunity to do that to your child.
Let me say this about your first part of your statement about our children being racist. I don't think that is the case at all. I really disagree with the caller on that point. There are a lot of issues, and you brought up some of them, but there are a lot of issues that don't relate to race in this particular instance. Our children are killing one another. This is not a racial issue. What do you think, Sandra, about that?
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Wright, I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be any other race involved but ours.
But our race.
And the Hispanic and Latino people too.
Right.
There's a violence problem there in their communities as well.
Yes, yes.
So I don't believe it's race, but I do believe it's our children are angry, because it's a lot of anger, and I think until we find out why they're angry and deal with that and educate them, it's going to continue. But in my opinion, I can't speak for anybody else, but the violence I see makes me believe that our children are angry.
Very much so, and I agree with you 100%. And they are volatile because they're angry. They haven't learned self-discipline. They haven't learned self-control. And as you well know, in your own etiquette classes, you teach self-discipline. You teach them how to be under control, how to control themselves, how to control their temper. You know, there are ways and solutions to this anger issue. And you're right, that is really contributing significantly to the level of violence. But it's an educational solution to that. And that's basically what it boils down to.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Wright, I believe we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, good evening to y'all. Okay, when y'all said about the race, they do play a part. Look what happened to that police officer shot that boy seven times, and he hold his hand up in the air, and why he trying to hide that police officer. And I'm glad the President Obama got in and involved. Y'all doing a good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I understand what the caller was saying about the race and the officer, but I think the caller before that, he was saying something different in terms of race.
Yes, I think so too.
Okay,
Yeah,
now Mr. Wright, I want to ask you about the objective for this education summit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the objective is certainly to take a look at some basic core issues when it comes to education of our children. Certainly academics is extremely important. The kind of academics our children are receiving, is it relevant to the requirement to get them prepared for employment in this country? And also discipline. Discipline is critical. You can't teach a classroom that's undisciplined. And so if we can tackle those two issues, we would be 5 steps ahead with the improvement in the education of our children. So academics is critical to what you're teaching our children. Is this relevant to the employment opportunities going forward? And secondly, are they self-disciplined? If you have those two things going, you can certainly educate our children, and you won't have the kinds of violence that we're experiencing in the city.
I agree. I agree. I believe we have a caller. Caller, you on the air?
Yes, good evening. How y'all guys
Good
doing?
evening. Fine. How are you?
The first caller, I mean that, but that person was just being that person. There's nothing wrong with his thought. That's his thoughts. Mr. Wright, you just said something that's so pertinent to what everyone needs to understand. Is the students. The students need to come to school that want to learn, that want to do things, want to better themselves. It starts there. If you got the students, if the teacher's wrong, you can always get a teacher. But if you don't have students that want to do anything and learn something, then you're not doing anything. So it starts right there with the students. Listen, I saw a commercial the other day. It said something like $400 billion the lottery has won, or they put into the schools. Well, maybe they did, but what schools did they put it into? We need to take politics out of the education. Let's make the playing field level. See, if you make the playing field level, maybe you might have a chance.
Right.
But again, if you were trying to train a dog, would you hire a pilot? You will hire a trainer. We need to have educators that know what's going on with the school, how to teach, and then we can start something. Mr. Wright, I want to ask you real quick. You remember last week or week before last, we were talking about goals to tell people write 5 or 6 goals and put it in your pocket and check it out. Well, I tried it. And sometimes it works. You just got to keep on giving that. But listen, I know you're going to have a lot of callers. I don't want to hog up the show. Always a wonderful topics y'all do have. So let me get out the air so I can hear your response. And again, thanks for taking the call.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve called with the 5 goals. I think that was a show that you were not here. And it was an excellent comment, and we are going to place 5 goals in our curriculum. But also what Steve said today was very interesting about coming to school to learn and wanting to learn. And as you well know, our parent etiquette program starts with kindergartners.
Yes.
And in that curriculum, as you well know, because you teach it most of the time, in that curriculum, we teach parents how to encourage their children, how to motivate their children to want to learn. We understand this, Steve, because we experience it every day. The parent has to be there to be a motivator for their child to want to learn. But the parents have to have a concept. And so we provide them with a rational concept in teaching and educating and encouraging their children to do the very best they can each and every day. And this is why, if we get an opportunity to get into a school in a serious way, our parent reinforcement program it does exactly that, aside from teaching that parent what we're teaching their children in the classroom. And you do it so well.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Wright, I believe we have another caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Mr. Wright, I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. I said Chicago Public School is very racist. It's been very well documented. One of the worst things a black parent can do is send their child, I don't care whether it's a public school or a private school, a school where it's all black children, because you give them the opportunity to target your child and not necessarily give them the same resources they do like the schools on the north side of Chicago. Now, walk to the school in my neighborhood where the old school used to call Inglewood, and it looked like you had to feel like it's a youth detention center. Then walk into Walter Payton, it's two different things. I understand they got to have security, but when you in this school, it feels like like youth detention center, but when you walk across after you get to the door at Walter Payton, it becomes much more a place of education.
Well,
that's what children deal with all day.
Well, maybe,
you ain't gonna feel like you want to be educated in some type of youth detention type place.
Well,
and they run the place like that, and it hurts the hearts and the souls of children.
Carla, well, maybe I misunderstood what you said in the beginning. It sounded like you said the students were racist, and so if I misunderstood you, then I do owe you an apology. But I do agree with you. The system is indeed a racist system, and so you won't have an argument from me from that point of view. But thank you for calling back. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, caller. Mr. Wright, what is the goal of the Education Summit?
Well, the goal is to produce recommendations for our leaders to, and I'm talking about from the State Board of Education to the Chicago Board of Education and to the districts, the many districts that are involved in educating our young people, to produce some recommendation that really is intended to change the system that we are now using to educate our children. The system, Sandra, as you well know, is a system based on the 1940s and 1950s. It's antiquated. It's out of touch with reality, the system that we're using today. And it just seems like they can't get beyond it. And maybe some creative thinking from the community can help them realize. When I was a young man, the educational system educated us for the thousands and thousands of factory jobs. The industry that was right here in the city of Chicago, tens of thousands of factory jobs were waiting on us once we received our high school diploma. Those thousands and thousands of factory jobs no longer are there. And so why are they still educating us for the jobs that do not exist any longer? And so they are out of touch with reality. That curriculum, that academic curriculum, is based in the Eisenhower era. and so until we wake up and realize we're in another era in this country, and those factory jobs would be nice to come back, but because they're unlikely to come back in the very near future, we need to change the educational system to address the employment opportunities that are there. And you see it, and we experience it. A high school diploma is a job at McDonald's, is a job at Walmart. Not that I have anything against Walmart, or McDonald's, but it doesn't even pay you enough money to take care and support yourself. Whereas when I was a young man, I could get a job making enough money to pay my rent, to pay my car note, to be able to support myself. Today, you can't do it with a high school diploma. So today, they're graduating. We were talking about this recently. You have 50, 60, 70 high schools graduating thousands of young people, and they only have 2,000 jobs available. So you're graduating 10,000 students, but with 2,000 jobs. That don't equate. When I was a young man, they graduated 10,000 students. We had 15,000 jobs waiting for them.
All right, Mr. Wright.
So the educational curriculum needs to be overhauled quickly, immediately. Not another year of this. That's what the Educational Summit is going to be about. We're going to address that as well.
Okay, we have a caller. Caller, you on the air?
Hello, how y'all doing today?
Good. Well.
It's a few things I wanted to address. Okay, the problem about the school system today is, these kids are outside of school more than they're in school. They need to have more than when they're in school. Because every time I come outside, they have it half a day in school or they miss the school. And that's not fair. Because see, and you said something about them not having jobs when they come out of high school. Okay, they not having jobs when they come out of college. Because when
Well,
I came out of college, they had the job for me or whatever. So,
yes.
you know, it's a fair, it's a fair system. I mean, I want to know your take on it. It's not
Yes.
even fair no more.
Well, I definitely agree that the amount of time spent in school has been cut significantly from the time that we were in school, and so I think for that reason the caller is right about that. And of course, what is going on in the college at the college level is just as awful, because what they're producing. Our students on the college, particularly the junior college level, is one in which, unfortunately, there are 5 students for every 1 job. So you're producing more so-called qualified people than there are jobs. You could be qualified, but if you're unemployed, it doesn't matter about your qualification. But I want to mention briefly, Sandra, about the opportunities that are in the Southland. I don't know how many of our listening and viewing audience are aware that it's about a $30 billion economic development program that's going on in the Southland. The Peatone Airport was approved. I don't know how many people, they even talk about this on the regular news shows. $20 billion to build the Peatone Airport. That's going to be thousands of pre-construction and post-construction jobs. Plus, they approved the Indiana Crosstown Toll Road that's going to run from I-55 to I-65. Another $7 or $8 billion in economic development. And then the high-speed rail from St. Louis to Chicago, another $2 or $3 billion. Why aren't our educators making our young people aware of these opportunities that's right here in the Chicagoland? Yeah, and so it's difficult to understand why that is the case when it is obvious, and if anyone do any reading would certainly know that these opportunities exist, and they should be training our young people for those positions, those jobs.
Yes, I agree, Mr. Wright. And I bet there's very few people who even know about it.
Very few people even know about it, and that's sad. That is awfully sad. $20 billion economic development for that airport in Peatone. People are going to be flooding in from all over the country for those jobs. Our political leaders are doing a great disservice to our community, because those jobs are quality jobs, career jobs, and yet they aren't even talking about that. Or the Indiana Crosstown Toll Road, $8 billion. They've already started working on I-57 for the 294 I-57 connection. If you live in the South Side and drive I-57, you see it.
Yes.
And no one is talking about those opportunities. It's sad.
It is. I believe we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
You know what? Those jobs is gone already. It goes to the same thing. Who you know is going to be the people who get that jobs. And that's the way life goes. It's so sad. But what I really want to ask you guys something. You go to school, you go there to teach, and you know that the curriculum and the things you're using is indated, outdated. You know you can't use it. If you like to change things while you're in school, do you have the permission to change the curriculum, the old way days that it might be teach? You want to teach it another way? And if you want to do it like that, do you get reprimanded for that? Are you able to do what you think is right? Maybe that might help out too. So again, it's a question that I was asking. I hope y'all understood what I asked you. And Mr. Wright, you're so right, down there in Pembroke and down there in St. Anne and Kankakee, all of that stuff has been going on, and it just started. You're right. It's been going on for months. A lot of people don't even know about those jobs, but again, it's going to be the people who know. Let me get out there and please answer that, what I was asking about, the way that you need to teach. Are you able to do that? Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Steve, for calling. Unfortunately, Steve, and I know we both know this very well, we have very little say-so about the curriculum that's going on in the school. Maybe, Sandra, you want to speak to that because you're in the schools.
Well, I know that there are certain things that the teachers must teach, and they give them a guideline to go by, and they must follow that. I'm sure they can add some visual aids to help out, but basically they must stick to the curriculum.
And the curriculum is determined by the State Board of Education. And so whatever the State Board says they have to teach, they have very little say-so in that curriculum.
Because the teachers, if they're caught not teaching what they're supposed to teach, they could be reprimanded for that.
Yes.
And they are observed by their principals and other people, so they do have to do that. But Mr. Wright, I do want you to extend an invitation to our viewers about the meeting that is coming up for the Education Summit.
You are invited. Everyone that's viewing us today, please consider joining us at the Hyatt Hotel on August the 21st. That's a Thursday. That's the day after our next show. And we would love to have you out there with us. It starts at 6 o'clock. That's the Hyatt Hotel at 22nd Street, right there, 22nd and King Drive. So please come out. Get the word out. Talk to your friends. Talk to your church. Talk to anyone you know who is interested in this subject. And please join us and let us put together a recommendation that would be so powerful, so dynamic, so overwhelming that the people in power would have to listen to our recommendation. They would have to seriously consider our recommendation. We can make a difference. We just have to stand up and come together and make that difference. And we can do that. And we want you to be involved in this process. Our 2014 Education Summit. The first meeting is next Thursday. That's August the 21st, and please join us, okay? And call us too as well, and let us know that you want to participate. We can tell you about the free parking, so you don't have to pay to park. And our number is right there at the bottom of the screen. It's 312-743.
No, 473.
I'm sorry, 473-2942. Please call us, send us an email, and come and join us, and let's make this change so we can begin to save lives by changing the educational curriculum that is going on now, that is antiquated, behind time, and needs to be updated.
Please come out and join us. I'm looking forward to meeting some of our viewers and callers.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wright, for being
welcome.
here again tonight. Thank you to our callers and viewers. Please tune in next week to Let's Talk Etiquette. Have a safe weekend. See you next week. Good night.
Bye-bye.